Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today, guys, we're diving into the world of ANKR and specifically talking about the price action of the ANKR coin. As we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, then hit that like button. We really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with that said, done out of the way, let's dive down into this brief technical analysis on ANKR. As we're going to start off, guys, with this weekly chart, we're going to talk about these 5 impulse waves to the upside and how this weekly structure is still looking pretty good. We can see that everything started back in March of 2020 with wave 3 peaking up here in March of 2021. And what this actually was a 34,240% gains were being made. We then started to see a pullback right here, and again this pullback brought us down into a pretty interesting low area where we could accumulate a bit more in the way of ANKR ahead of our expectations for moving ANKR up towards our high area of 77 cents. Overall, the weekly chart has been looking pretty good with some recent sideways trading going on over this side here. This can be frustrating after seeing a pretty good start to this 5th wave in August, the pullback of September, and obviously trying to heat things up as we continue that growth to the upside overall. But 34,240% in gains is very, very good. To put that into context, Bitcoin's only given us 1,600% for the same time period. Ethereum, 5,100%. Cardano, 14,000%. VeChain, 18,000%. Harmony 1, 18,000%, and the list goes on and on. VeChain has been, ANKR has been a pretty good performer all around, and it has been a little bit slow to get going, but once it has gotten, it has absolutely nailed it. Here's a sideways trade of going out of wave 2 into wave 3, just trading sideways in a very similar way that you see here, out of wave 4 into wave 5. Before things absolutely went nuts to the upside. ANKR's a good performer, and I do think we're going to see this thing absolutely pop to the upside in the coming months. Now, as we come down into our daily view, we're going to take a look at what's been going on most recently. So we can see that there is a cup and handle pattern here on ANKR. Okay, we take it from this area just here. We go down to the bottom of our cup. We come up. We go down for the handle, and then we can move up to our target of 18.9 cents. The 18.9 cent area is basically where we anticipate this this cup and handle pattern finishing. Now, the cup and handle is only 60 to 70% accurate, so it's important that we acknowledge that we might deviate away from this pattern. But if we do actually go ahead and complete it, it's going to be 18.9 cent, which will be the target. Right now, we're seeing a bit of a pullback in the last few days. And this is not too unusual. Basically, money is rolling around the market right now, and it's actually flooding into Bitcoin. We see Bitcoin's dominance increasing and the altcoins decreasing, with the total market capitalization actually being relatively static. So there's not a lot of new money coming in, but money is just rolling out of the alts into Bitcoin right now as people are chasing those green candles. Bitcoin is a key area on the chart, and it could take off from here at any moment. So we're just watching with eager eyes to see exactly what goes on with Bitcoin as to whether or not that's going to now trigger a huge impulse wave to the upside overall for Bitcoin, and then obviously that would lead the way for the other altcoins as well. So a little bit of a pullback right now, but I'm not overly concerned. On this daily chart, we can see that we're overbought, heading down, trying to get this corrected into an oversold area before we heat things up again. And again, we can do this without doing too much damage to the price as long as that sentiment is good. Okay, so we look for good support on that journey. We obviously have got several different areas of support. We'll get into those in a moment, but we're looking pretty good just around about 8.2, and we're currently at 8.4. Okay, so overall, everything's looking pretty good. We obviously do have that 77 cent target, which is the 4.236 extension, based on the performance of wave 3 and wave 4. Okay, so we take into consideration the high of wave 3, the low of wave 4, on that fib, and then that Fibonacci, basically 4.236, comes in at 77 cent. So based on the current performance for ANKR, we can see 77 cent being something that we should be anticipating and working our way towards. Obviously, the main battle that we'll be fighting is going to be the 618, the 702, and the 786. This is basically 15.2. 16.7 and 18.1 cent areas on the charts. Overall, everything's looking pretty good from that perspective. I'm just going to move the fib over a little bit. There we go. Okay, so right now, everything's looking pretty good on our daily chart. We're about 800% away from our 77 cent target. Now, that is not going to happen in a day, 2 days, a week. That's something that we anticipate being the end of the bull run, okay? Just to be incredibly clear, that is where my fifth wave expectations are. Now, we might actually go up higher than 77 cent, but it really depends on what else is going on in the space at the time. So we're mindful that we have a 4.236 extension coming in at 77 cent, if he actually gets that on the nail there. And obviously we could overextend that and go towards that dollar level, but I do not anticipate us moving too much further away from there. Okay, but again, that's something that we'll acknowledge as we start to talk about going up to the 1.618, the 2.618, the 3.618. Okay, and depending on the time frames in that when all that happens. Overall, the daily chart's looking pretty good. Cup and handle could see us with 18.9 cent, and everything's lining up quite nicely for ANKR here. So at this point, we're going to jump over to the advice.io dashboard. And what we're going to do is we're going to load up the data for ANKR, and we're going to see if there are any problems or anything that we should be concerned with in the regards to ANKR. So we have a B3 rating overall. And as we come on down here, we have an AMI-HAD ratio of a rating of D. So there are major liquidity-based problems. As with many of these altcoins right now, and that could be the fact that many people have rolled out of those altcoins, affecting the liquidity of them. Or some exchanges have got problems with liquidity and they need to resolve those issues. Now, this is a problem that's been going on for weeks for many of these altcoins, specifically through that month of September. And I imagine it is down to a couple of things. One, exchanges, centralized or decentralized, and obviously everyone rolling their money out of these altcoins during the month of September. And obviously parking it into stable coins or whatever, that will affect the liquidity. The more people that do that, obviously, is going to have an impact on that liquidity. So right now, obviously, liquidity is a problem. As we come over to the Fear and Greed Index, we have a rating of D. Again, extreme fear in the space for ANKR right now. And again, that just comes to looking at a sea of red. Lots of blood is being spilled in those altcoins. And basically, everyone's trying to get out. But obviously, when you have liquidity-based problems, that becomes even more of a problem in itself and compounds that fear. So right now, there's extreme fear in the space. But there's some good news. And that is that the Sharpe ratio is an A2 rating. And the Sharpe ratio, guys, is your risk-reward ratio. And this artificial intelligence machine learning is indicating to us that the rewards outweigh the risks. So you couple that Sharpe ratio with your fear and greed index and you say to yourself, there's some fear that you might want to buy. As in long term, you want some exposure to ANKR, and yet people are willing to sell it at a discount. Okay, so you might be in the market for some ANKR if you were to see it the way that I do. Now, obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. Chris is not a financial advisor, so it's important that you do your own research. A part of that research might be to sign up to advice.io, link in the description down below, and actually use this information to your advantage. That's how I tend to like to do it. And I also couple this with the charts to help us understand exactly what's going on. And on advice.io, guys, there is TradingView built directly in, and you can actually chart up on ANKR in this case, everything that you need to do, and basically have that directly inside the platform here on advice.io. So do check it out. Links in the description below, and I'm sure you won't regret it. As we come down, the profitability is up there in the A1 rating. The moving averages have been affected, obviously, with that sideways trading. Rating of D right now, and not the best in the world. Peak and value demand at B2. But overall, lots of issues with ANKR for the kind of short time frames, but longer term, everything's looking pretty good. So it's entirely up to you how you want to interpret this data. But for me, personally, when the risk-reward ratio and the profitability is looking really good, that's your longer term outlook. And obviously, you take that Sharpe ratio and take it into consideration with a lot of fear in the space and some liquidity-based problems, you might have an opportunity in that, specifically for longer term plays anyway. When we jump back to the charts here and we go down into our hourly, this is where we start to actually really review what's been going on most recently. Okay, so here we can see that recent kind of area that we hit up in the early September, the recent pullbacks, taking us down to this low area of 7.3 cent, moving up in the month of October, okay, and basically now just falling back down a tad. Now, here we can see that we are midway through our stochastic, and therefore our expectation will be to pull back down probably towards 7.3 cent by the time this thing bottoms out. This is a good strong area of support, and from a current position of 8.4 cent, there is a 1 cent drop in price, and that would actually be a relatively significant portion for ANKR. So it would be a buy the dip scenario, but again, this would only allow it if we actually started to see some liquidity, get resolved, some issues of the liquidity actually getting resolved. So a 12% drop is something that we might start seeing over the next few weeks. With ANKR, I say weeks, but a few days with ANKR, taking us down to a good strong support here before steadily moving our way back to the upside. Like I said at the beginning of the video, right, when we go back into our daily view, we have had a interesting kind of sideways trading before things really heat up with ANKR. And if I actually grab hold of my date range, we can see that basically from the top of wave 1 through to where things actually started to heat up, it was 175 days, right? To see that kind of come through. And when we take a look from the top of wave 3 through to where we are right now, we're at 199 days. I do anticipate that we are going to start seeing some pretty good traction with ANKR, probably in the latter part of the year. I would say latter part of October and going into November, where things really start to heat up. I do think this sideways correction and everything else is coming to a bit of a close, and we are going to start seeing some good traction to the upside. The first target, of course, guys, is going to be that cup and handle targeting 18.9 cent. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there. Hopefully you have found this brief update on ANKR useful and informative. If you have, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.